Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Solo to Entrepreneur Show. You are with me, Lorraine, your host for today. Now, the whole concept of if you're new in the business, where do you start? What do you do? How do you grow your business? We are going to be talking about the whole concept of networking. And networking is networking in the sense of a business networking group. There's so many different networking groups out there, be it your local chambers or this thing where I think some of you or most of you may know, which is called BNI, the Business Network International. Today, I have with me Steve Han, who is a executive director of one of the regions in North Carolina. I almost forgot where I was there. So, welcome, Steve. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Lorraine. I appreciate that. And since you've been a traveler so much, such a short time, I can understand where am I today? So that's
I
great.
know, right? All right. So this whole concept of BNI, right? So I was introduced it by one of my friends, and actually this guy was a guy that knew me back many, many years ago, even without us actually communicating or speaking. He followed me through my channel, as I told you, my siblings back in Malaysia are also part of the BNI group in Malaysia. So tell me or share with us. I know the story, but I want you if you could share with us your journey towards how you came about BNI and how you came about in regards to, being interested in actually joining the group.
Okay, sure. I'd be happy to. So my background was now when I was a kid, I was an entrepreneur, but my wife told me I had to get a job and have a regular paycheck, and that made sense. So I became a tech guy inside a global pharmaceutical company. And so I would put systems in. I'd spend 6 months commuting to put a system in, and then 6 months someplace else. And that was great. Um, but once we started having kids, it got a little complicated. So at that point, it made more sense for me to stay in one place. Big company, that pretty much anywhere. And so we took a look at the map, talked to the company, and we felt Raleigh area of North Carolina was a great place to come to. Research Triangle Park to be specific, which was really good. So I came there, made a lot of changes inside that company, really grew it quite a bit, and was really very successful. And after about 5 years, my job went to Florida. It's fine with me. It's what you do. That's great. But my wife said, wait a second. The kids are just getting into school right now. So, and that made good sense. So, I took a severance from the company and started back over. And so what I did is I took the summer off to kind of, spend time with the family, not so much traveling for a little while, paint the house, really exciting stuff. And then I started cranking up my job search. So I went look up good at the technical stuff that I was in. I was looking for companies that were local and that have five or more people doing the job I would be doing. I found 13 of them. So if you do the math, that's like 75 people doing that right here in this area.
And
So I just started,
that's just your
that's my
normal
local area.
research, isn't it?
Exactly.
It
So
was there was no internet at that time to do
no, it was
Google
way before
search.
that. Exactly. So yeah. In fact, it was even before cell phones. It's a big that at this point people had to walk out in their driveway with those big things to make sure they got a signal. But if you want to date for anybody inside there, it was the IBM System 34, System 36, that technology right there. So which was still as big as a room just to run a company. So, but
So how did you come across BNI? So me
yeah,
was
that's
some
what I'm
random
leading up to. So
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm leading up to. So at that point, when my job went to Florida, I figured I had to do something different. So I found these 13 companies, and I just started networking. I didn't know it was networking at the time, but I started reaching out to whoever the decision maker was. I'm available. This is what I know. I'm all about it. I can help you with that kind of stuff. And I just started leaving them messages, sending them emails, touching base with them on a regular basis, right? And it took me about 5 or 6 weeks, but I wound up getting three interviews on the same day, which is my first day of interviewing. Three of them on the same day. Unfortunately, that day was September 11th, 2001. Many of you probably might remember that day. That was when the Trade Center came crashing down, and we thought it was World War III. So the first person interviewed me, but the other two people said, Steve, we're not hiring now. We got bigger things to work on. And it made sense, right? So here's Steve Han. I've gone through my entire severance package. I'm at the end. The whole world is caving in around me. I have to do something different. So I said to my wife, I'm going to have to become an entrepreneur again. So the fastest thing with the least, barrier to competition I thought, was to start a network marketing business. So I went looking for them. I'd never done it before, but I'd seen it through the years. I thought if there's something to it, I can do it. maybe 6 months, 8 months until things open up. And it was great to be back to being an entrepreneur. First, I went looking for the company that was right for me because, not everything is a fit for me. So I'm not a makeup guy, as you can imagine, but there's a lot of things I don't do. So, but I found the thing that was really a good fit for me, and it was business services primarily, but also personal services. And my second client, is a long-term friend of mine. He was a forensic psychologist in BNI. We're golfing buddies. And he said, you ought to come out to BNI, see what this is all about. I said, okay, fine. And I went and I saw it and I said, this is great. How many of these can I join? I'll join 10. I didn't get at the time you could only join one. I do now, but I didn't then. So I joined one and I worked it pretty hard. And, within about 3 years, I was number one in the company with 30,000 sales reps. Now, I'm full time. A lot of people are part time in that industry, as you can imagine, but I was all in, and BNI is what did it. So that was how it started. And then I would see the person would run the region for about a year and a half, and then they'd be gone. And somebody else would come in. The guy who owned it was in Virginia, so he'd bring somebody either from there or local. And so after the fourth person was getting a little bit shaky, because he had 4 kids under 6. He lived in Wilmington, which is 2.5 hours away from us. So I'm sure he didn't want to commute every day to do that. Made sense. And so I went to the owner and said, I'm right here. I can probably help you out. And his question to me was, do you mean as an employee or as an owner? I said, own what? I had no idea. Being as a franchise, you can own it. And so cut the biggest check of my life. My wife had a lot of faith in me. And then we jumped in and we've doubled it every 5 years. So that was my process. So it was a lot of
It's an
fun.
amazing story. And the thing is, the way that I hear it is success is shared, right? For your friend
Yes.
to invite you to BNI, for
Yes.
a random person who knew me back in the day to invite me to BNI, for
Right.
someone that is in the BNI world or in any networking group that invites somebody else
Yes.
that you may think could bring the value to the group. It starts with there sharing the success instead of being selfish in terms of no, it's hard for me to gain the success, so I'm keeping it to myself. But when I first met you and when I saw your chapters, what caught me, as I mentioned to you, was like I visited a lot of different BNIs globally, not all of
Right.
them, but
Right.
globally. And from my understanding, there's about almost 80 countries that BNI is
Yes.
in,
Yes.
with
Yep.
almost 300,000 members.
Yes.
So to understand the whole concept, and when I saw your chapters, like your chapters were one of the strongest chapters that I have visited in the world. So, kudos to you.
Thank
But
you.
with that success, right? How do you see your, I would say, company or region as an owner?
Sure. Sure. Yeah. There's a couple of things. We are all about collaboration, about working together, as you mentioned. And there's more business than anybody can handle. So I was thinking about it the other day. One of my guys ran a pest control company. He and his brother ran a pest control company, and really nice guys. Got to know them and liked them quite a bit. And then another pest control company joined a different chapter, and they seemed like they had a good fit for personality. You know what I mean? I just thought they would really get along. So now there's more there's more bugs around here than anybody could take care of. No one company can do it all, but especially 2 guys and one guy. They're not going to, there's plenty of business. So it made sense for them to talk to each other. But my guy was really reluctant. Why do I want to talk to another pest control? I don't know. You guys do the same thing. You use the same companies, chemicals. You talk to the same people. I'm sure there's ways you can benefit from each other. So eventually, reluctantly, they got together. And 6 weeks later, the second guy bought the first guy's business. So I mean, you just don't know how things are going to happen unless you work together. So, and it happens all the time here. I've got carpet cleaners, 4 different corners of the region, and it's not billable time for me to spend my crew driving 2 hours to your region to clean a carpet. Instead, I give the referral to you. You do it. You take care of it. My client is still taken care of. He's got 180 properties, 20 of them in your town. You do those. I'll do the 160. We're all happy at that point, right?
Yeah, and
And
and it's the same concept. Like there's so many coaches out there. Like I don't
yes,
want to have all the clients to
of course,
myself.
you
If it's
can't
somebody
handle all of
doesn't
them. You can't
exactly, if
handle all of them,
somebody
right?
doesn't
Yeah.
suit me, that's okay. You can go to somebody
Exactly.
else.
Give them to the person that's right. And so here's the situation for them. And they were reluctant to, right? Don't want to give up my opportunity and things like that. But once they got past that and actually did it, Now, new technology comes out, one guy tries it, and they all know if it's good, better, and different. You run into a stain you've never seen, I can call you and you can help me get through it, right? We're hiring from the same pool of people. If I interview somebody who's awesome, but I don't have a need right now, I can refer them to you, and that person gets taken care of with somebody who can hire them right away. So, a lot of things. But here's the one thing: one guy went to a church, still does, as far as I know, with 20,000 square feet of carpet.
Hmm.
Too big for him to do by himself, but the four companies together can do that on a Tuesday night, Thursday night, and knock it out. It's the point where they're actually talking about hiring a business development manager to go find hotels, conference rooms, churches, and things like that. And the equipment is used twice a day, two different crews. So it's one of the things. One on one is always more than two if you open your mind to it. And networking is really provides that opportunity in a very, very big way. So
Absolutely. So let's look in terms of success. So you mentioned about how you started selling or buying your first car at age
yes,
11.
yes, yeah. I was an entrepreneur from a very, very early age. So my grandfather was the sports editor in the town of Syracuse, New York, which is a really strong sports town. And so got I really wanted what I found at age 8 is that kids knew very little, adults knew a lot, but it was hard to get it out of them, right? To really get them to tell you what life was all about. So my solution was to start a paper route because then I'd be talking to 30 or 40 adults every single week, and I could eventually figure out what this life was all about. That was my plan, right? So I started this paper route, and the way it worked out is it came out every afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'd get off the school bus a couple of stops away. There was a nice lady that let me keep my bike and my paper bag at her garage. So I'd get off the bus, get the papers, go deliver them, park back at her house, and then walk back home. And I did that every day, Monday through Saturday. On Sunday, the papers come out at 3 o'clock in the morning. No big deal. I just got up and did it. And, since then, I really like that time of day. I get up at 5 o'clock every morning. It's the latest day I get up so I can enjoy that quiet time. So that was pretty much it for me. And everything was great. I was meeting the people, getting some information, having a good time. But the other kid in the neighborhood next to me could not get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. No way, no how. And so I tried to teach him all the tips to work for me, all the tricks to work for me. Nothing worked. It was impossible for him. So it's funny. We kind of did the math. You get 2 cents a day. That's what the papers cost back there, 10 cents. I paid back the newspaper system 8 and it kept 2. 2 cents a day, Monday through Saturday, 12 cents a day on Sunday. It's kind of a 50-50 split. So I let him deliver Monday through Saturday for both routes, his and mine. And I delivered the Sunday routes, both routes, his and mine. So I'm working one day a week. He's working 6 days a week, and we're splitting it. Now you can keep the tips. I'm not talking to adults anymore. No big deal. But this was so appealing to another kid. I took a third route doing the same thing, then a fourth route, then a fifth route. By the time I got to my sixth route, I had to hire my friends. So now
Wow.
you can think about it. By now I'm about 10 years old, 11 years old, and my friends are the same age. They're not quiet at 3 o'clock in the morning. That was my hardest thing was get them to shut up, be quiet, and get them to delivering the paper with me. And the way that I paid them, my mom was a waitress, and so she taught me how to tip. So I would, the bunch of rowdy kids would be going in about 7 o'clock in the morning to a local Howard Johnson's. Breakfast is on me, and that's how I paid them. So.
Wow. Okay,
And then
well
there was another
done.
kid up the street. He was about 15. Driving age in Syracuse was 16. So he was about 15. And so he wanted to buy a car so he could learn to tune an engine up, be ready to drive when he got his driver's license. But guess what? He couldn't afford it. Guess who could? I could. so, so I became a 20% owner in a little Hillman Minx, and we bought that
Right.
car. And he had a really long driveway, so we liked riding in it. We liked tuning the engine was fine. But the big thing was every kid in the neighborhood wanted to ride it. So the deal we had, you could sit in the back of the middle of the back seat for a nickel. You have a window seat in the back for a dime. For 25 cents, you could sit up front.
Oh, nice.
And for 50 cents, I teach you how to work the clutch and the brake and all that kind of stuff. You could take it up and down the driveway 3 times.
Oh,
So we learned
nice.
that the first thing we had to do was take the mailbox out because it wasn't going to survive with these kids driving around, right? And so that was our process. We could have bought 2 cars by the time the summer was over. So yeah,
Yeah,
obviously
wow.
couldn't do that today, but back in those days,
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, so wow. So that's far a bigger picture than I was. Like back in the day, my parents were like, no, they had limitations in terms of giving me pocket money. And I
Right.
wanted to buy like sweets and stuff like that on my own
Sure.
expense. And
Yep.
my parents are like, no, you can't get that, you can't get that. So I was dependent on them. So for me personally, it was I was very good with arts and crafts.
Right.
And I create all these little arts and crafts and sold it to church members because those were the only
Nice.
people that had money, and those are the only people that at that time were in my circle that were, wanting to buy. So
And
that
they were
was my
supportive.
business.
Yes, they were
Absolutely. But
supportive. I love it. Yep.
I didn't have the neighborhood like you did in terms of running that. So wow. And
That
that's the
was
thing,
great.
like it's curiosity, isn't it? It's
Yes.
curiosity of wanting to learn, and it's going
Yes.
against the odds. Like you
Right.
waking up at 5, while other people it's like, no, I want to wake up at 8 o'clock. By then it's like everyone's already busy doing that. And then there's a lot of
Yes.
things that you could have accomplished between that time for
Yes.
me. Yeah, well, but look, let's look at the route with the success from you as a young boy to, before you went through the BNI world.
Right.
And the way I see it is success comes with it separates people in terms of what are you willing to do to go past that boundary of challenge that you're facing currently. Because I think a lot of successful business and a lot of entrepreneurs themselves would agree with me in terms of we all face different challenges in our own way, and it may seem like it's a huge challenge that will or possibly deter people from moving on, but you went through with it anyway, with looking for a job, being jobless at that time. For me, moving countries and starting over, or starting businesses from scratch. For some people it's leaving the corporate world and starting their own business. What is your advice for people out there that are currently struggling in their field, whatever struggle they face?
Right. Yeah. I think it's important to set your goal, whatever it may be. I mean, you selected United States. Specifically where? I don't know. You had to figure, you didn't know, right? You had to
No.
see where was the best fit. I know you looked at a couple of cities before you wound up here. And so set your goal and then take action on it. Be willing to burn the bridges if that's what it takes to do it. So yeah, you can only do one thing at any one moment.
True.
So do it all in 100%. And things that might seem scary in the beginning are really a lot less when you get to them. Things that look easy might be more difficult, but a lot of times things that look difficult are actually easier when you do them. So the key is just to dive in, and you might have to change and shift. Nobody goes on a straight line. I certainly didn't go on a straight line, but it. I just say just do it is the key. So
So if you know deep down that you are going to be able to achieve success, like for me, it's like keep persevering. Like don't let anything stop you through, achieving what you know you can achieve. I'm gonna throw
exactly.
my dad under the bus, and I'm gonna do that is because he said something that really struck me as really funny. So he was questioning my move in terms of moving to the US, and
Right.
he was talking nicely, and I love him for that. He's just looking out for his daughter. And his question was, you have to analyze why you want to do this, and in terms of your decision and what you're doing, you should not be taking risks. Now, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an international coach, like I know that every success comes through in life is by taking those calculated
Yes.
risks,
Yes.
whatever we do as business owners. Now, in terms of taking risks, what is your opinion about that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the thing is, you want to be, have an idea of what you're capable of, and be prepared to adjust. So, risk is part of it. There's no question about it. You really can't, you can't get anywhere without trying something new. And trust me, in the beginning, you're going to be terrible at it, most likely. It'd be amazing if you were good at it to begin with, but go after it. You'll get better. You'll get better. And so that's been my story straight along. I would, in fact, it's funny. In the early days when I was doing that business and part of BNI, I would want to try something new, and so I would drive to a town 45 minutes away and try it there. If it didn't work, so what? I just won't go back for a while, right? If it worked, now I can still support those people. It's not too hard, but I could really do it back home. So just find a way to do it that makes sense for you. to get better at it, and you will.
Now, failure is always going to happen,
Yes.
no matter how big or small it is. And
Yep.
sometimes it is scary and it's heartbreaking to face failure. But
Mhm.
failure is where we can learn in terms of how we can do things differently, how we can do things better, or how we can avoid doing those things.
Yes.
How many failures do you think you had to go through in order to reach the success that you have?
No, that depends. So I would, I'm sure I fail something every day, without a doubt, at least one or two things every day. So, but it's a question of how big they are and how painful they are. But it's part of growth as far as that goes. So, generally, what will happen when I really am good at something, if you take everybody that's doing what I'm doing, I'm in the top third, but kind of the bottom of the top third. That's pretty much where my parameter usually is. Now, sometimes I might be there ahead of people. It's a while before they catch up to me, but that's the idea. So keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. It gets easier, it gets better. And there's a lot of surprises along the way too. So a lot of successes you might not have expected, which are pretty
Mm.
cool. So yeah, I never expected to own a car, at age 11. So, but it just made sense day to day as we went along. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So,
Right, but then it's
and
the
my
momentum
parents were
as
willing to
well.
let me take risks too. And just like I'm willing to let my kids take risks as well. So,
Yeah. No, that's helpful. That's helpful for
yeah,
parents to give you that opportunity of taking the
right.
risk.
I'm sure your dad didn't want you going so far away. That was the issue. So,
No, so I understand from a parent's point of view where, they
right,
just want your kids to succeed, right? And
right.
the most comfortable way they can understand is currently you have, as an international educator, that was what they know, my other business of. Why are
Yes,
you throwing that away when you already have such a secure job? For me, it's
right.
more of I can reach a bigger heights than this. I wanted to
Yes,
be challenged more. That's for myself. And
exactly.
if I truly believe that's gonna happen, that's the route I was gonna take. And I wasn't gonna let anyone control that anymore because,
Right.
I can clearly see that in my front view. So
Yep.
that's the
Right.
same way where I coach people where you don't allow people to tell you no. And that's the thing with my career. It's like everyone says no, 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 no.
Right.
And it
Right.
used to frustrate me so much. It's like, why do you say no when there has to be a way of how you can make things better? There has to be a way
Exactly.
on how you can make things bigger. And that was always me, like someone that always wants to go and challenge
Yes.
the world in terms of creating something better and bigger. But
Right.
with BNI, right? Let's go back to BNI. And there's
Sure.
so many different networking groups, right, out there.
Mhm. Yeah.
And not every one of them has its own perks, and every one of them is amazing in a sense. And some people may feel more comfortable in this group, and some people may
Yes.
be people in a different group. And that's okay. You make it
Right.
work.
Right.
Now, what will your advice be with BNI members globally? Because I know there are going to be BNI members that are watching this from whichever part of the world they are at. What are your advice to BNI members, whether or not they are new or young in their chapter?
Okay. Yeah. I think I would kind of go back to the story of talking to those parents, talking to those adults or whatever. So I talk to the people that know what they're doing inside there. I find the experts in the chapter and find out what worked for them. Also, the better you can really define your marketplace, the better you can define who your ideal customer is, the easier it is for the other people to find them. And so I would want to make it as easy as possible. So we had a guy that did a disaster restoration, if you're familiar with that. So when there's been a fire in the house or a flood in the house or something like that. And brilliant guy. He was a minister in his church. He was in the military before he joined this business and started doing that. And he would go out to Raleigh, Durham and teach those pilots how to land in the National Guard. So very talented guy, right? And the thing for us was try to figure out, because his business is primarily reactive. Once there's a 3 alarm fire, then he can jump in there. And so he wanted to find a way that he could get regular process. And so one of the things he would do was asbestos removal. So here in the United States, probably a lot of places around the world, is asbestos was used as a coating and a covering and a protectant. And so in what we have down here in the South, a lot of places, what's called popcorn ceiling. So it's asbestos stuff on the ceiling. And so he would take that down and did a great job. Always kept the room looking great, that kind of stuff. So it took us a little time to find the right question, but once we did, it was real easy. So let's say I'm in the house with you and I'm here to tutor your kids, or I'm here to sell you life insurance or whatever, right? Right. And I look over your shoulder and say, hey, Lorraine, popcorn ceiling, do you love it? If you love it, so do I. I just go back to tutoring your kids or whatever, right? But if you don't, then I can talk about my friend Brian who takes that down, and it's an opportunity right there. So that one question added, I don't remember the numbers now, hundreds of thousands of dollars to his bottom line, just once we figure that one question out. So in your networking group, figure out what is the thing that you can do for somebody else and also that they can do for you. And then teach it, do it, do it. When somebody became one of my customers, there were 6 places I could ask questions to refer to somebody in my chapter. Now, if the first question got a yes, I didn't ask the other 5. But if the first one was no, then I asked the second one, third one, fourth one's a yes, I don't ask the other 2. But now I'm referring to somebody in my BNI chapter. They can find out by asking of the new person those other questions as well. So it was not uncommon that I refer you to somebody, they refer to somebody, and down the road, the next time I see you, you're talking about a great photographer you're working with. Guess what? He's in my chapter. But it just made more sense coming from somebody else in the flow than from me. So
It's because there's the trust within the group, isn't it? It's not
yes,
just somebody that's from the phone book or from Google. You
exactly.
never
And here's
know.
the thing: if I refer you to my friend Joe, you better do a good job. You better be competent, credible, right? And if you're not sure, just say no. That's not my kind of business. I don't do that. That's fine. We'll find somebody who does. And so it works really, really well. So yeah, that's the key. Do what you say what you do, find out the best way to get that message out, and rinse, lather, and repeat. Do it all the time. So yeah.
So a chapter is like a family, is how I look at it.
Yes. Oh
And
yes.
then the other chapters are like extended families, as
Yes.
they say.
Oh
And
yes.
then the other business networking groups are like, friends and families. So
Yes.
it's not just sticking within your group. It's always opening and broadening up. And the thing is,
Exactly.
it's finding who works. It's like maybe my brother who is a dentist, maybe he's too busy or doesn't work, and maybe I have somebody else who is a dentist
Yes.
who is not my family member who will be able to
Right.
help you there.
Yes.
But like with me, before I came to North Carolina, immediately the day after I landed, straight away I went to a BNI chapter.
Right.
And people thought I was crazy, but that was the thing, was I needed a plan, and that's why we both communicated before I arrived, was because
Yes.
I needed to know my plans in terms of time is precious and I need to be able to make that traction. And with
Yes.
me going out with all those chapters that you introduced, it helped me because it helped me get a mechanic who helped me ensure that the car was safe to drive. I got a hold of a health insurance guy, an auto guy. And that's the thing, is like with all these people that I meet, they also can help me whether or not they want to be my clients in the future. But you never know. And the thing is, with the networking groups that people are a part of, the more you communicate with them, the more you understand who they are, the more you build that trust
Right.
within the people, isn't it?
Exactly.
Before growing the business together or helping each other. But what I saw with you is, just speaking to you before meeting you in person, was
Right.
that you, even though you're an executive director, you are always on the ground
Yes.
visiting chapters. And the thing is, with you visiting chapters, it wasn't just communicating with all members. You were communicating with new members. You were communicating with visitors. And that was what stood out with me. Even though you hold that high title, you still
Good.
do that groundwork in terms of understanding your members and prospects. What is your view towards why you do that?
Well, I think it's important. So, back in the software days, we'd call it eating your own dog food. So, you write the software, you need to use it as a member too, as a customer too. So I do that all the time. I get about 25 people working for me, and so there's a lot more of me floating around than there is just me myself. But I still visit 3 to 4 chapters a week on a typical basis, so I can really find out what's happening with you personally, with you and the person in your chapter, right? Because it's really always a 360-degree thing. Your relationship with somebody's different. Just because of that profession doesn't mean it's you as a person as well. That's all part of it. So that's the key. So I really, to me, that's really, really important. Like I said, I want to help every member. My goal is to help every member make more money than can spend. That's what gets me up in the morning. So just help you be as successful as possible. And I really think this is the system to do it. So
Amazing. No, you've
Yes.
done really good job with what you
Thank
have
you.
done. So
Thank
far,
you.
it's been
Yes.
amazing, and your
Yeah.
advice as well. So
Thank
thank you,
you.
Steve, for being here. If
Thank
everyone,
you.
anyone out there is interested in the whole world of business networking, check out your
Yeah.
local BNI group. If you are in the area and want more insights, by all means, you are more than welcome to speak to me about it because I do have connections with other BNI groups in different parts of the globe. And if you're in the region, in the Triangle region of North Carolina, please
Yes.
do get in touch with Steve Hans. Of course, he's more than delighted to help you out if you are moving here with me. So,
Absolutely.
other than that, thank you, everyone. If you do enjoy this episode, please like, subscribe, and share this episode. And we'll be looking forward for the next time for our next episode. So, until then, stay tuned.
Thank you, Lorraine.